What's up, fam? Hey, man, welcome to another episode of Couples Connect with Kevin and
Tanya.
yeah, man. So we excited, man. We got another amazing couple in the building. Check it out. We're gonna get right to it, man. We're gonna talk about some stuff, man, and I'm pretty sure you guys can relate to it. Maybe not, but some of this stuff I'm pretty sure you can relate. So we're gonna welcome the one, the only, Mr. Myron and Leesa Coleman in the building. What's up, fam? What's going on?
Hey, y'all.
Man, y'all all right?
We are well. We are.
Thank you guys for inviting us.
Yeah, man. Y'all stepped up, man. We sent a little invite a couple of days ago, Myron, and then you guys like, man, we ready, let's go. So we just happy you guys are here, made the trip down, and we watched
From the other side of town. So thank you.
from the other side of town, man. So, but real quick, man, we were talking about a lot of stuff before we started. Was the record button,
Yeah.
and it was getting good and juicy. We was like, man, wait for the recording. Wait till we start the podcast. So it seems like you guys definitely got a lot to share. Y'all were speaking some real stuff, and we're gonna get into it. So we normally send a Google form for people to kind of pick their topic, right? And you guys chose a specific topic, which when you guys want to share what topic you chose.
So we chose to talk about finances in the marriage, and more specifically, how to deal with when the woman makes more money in the relationship and how to navigate that and maintain a successful, healthy marriage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that topic, man, is very relevant today, as we were talking about, right?
I agree.
Where they got this whole movement of women who are making boss moves, right? And doing some big things financially to where, they're making more money sometimes than the husband. That could be a problem. Maybe not for some couples, but for some couples it could be, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna get into a little bit about, because I know we shared some of that experience, right? Man, our income was up and down. She's been a consistent with her income, with me being entrepreneurial, trying different things, in jobs. I couldn't stay in jobs. I just always had that entrepreneurial spirit, like I want to do my own thing. There were many times where she was the breadwinner, and she was bringing in the money. And I had to kind of like, girl, keep it going. You know what I'm saying? Don't get sick, stay healthy. You know what I'm saying? But some people can look at that as from a position the man could be a little bit, a little salty, a little intimidated, or feel some type of way about that. What do you say? What do you think about that, Mom?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't. I knew that we were in it together.
Yeah.
I never, at least I hope I've never made you feel like, you didn't matter in that situation. But yeah, it's a big thing now, even more now today, that more women are making more money. And some men are choosing to stay home and be the the homemaker for the family. But if that works for that family, and if you can afford to do that, then it's okay. But if you can't, then that's when the problem comes.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys chose a topic. So I'm assuming you guys have something to share in that space, and we just would love to hear you guys' story about kind of what was that? Was it a struggle? Was it not? And how did you guys work that dynamic? If that was even the case. We didn't even say if that was the case for you guys, but we let you guys kind of tell, what does that look like for you guys in terms of in the Coleman's household?
And I just want to say first, thank you for your vulnerability and to be able to share, because I feel like it's going to help and maybe even save some marriages.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the benefit that we have is that we've navigated this space from the beginning of our relationship all the way through today. So for the past 20 years, we've been in this space, and we've grown emotionally and are in a much better place to have a raw, honest conversation on how we got to where we are today. Because it hasn't always been a place of connection or something that we're able to navigate without resentment. And so in the beginning of our relationship, I loved it because in my 20s, it was more important to me that no one was trying to control my money or trying to tell me what to do with my money. And he didn't do that. I got to shop as much as I wanted to shop. I didn't have to hide no bags. Nobody was asking no questions on where I was spending money. And I loved it. And then you navigate a little further in life and start having kids and adding different responsibilities to the mix. And then I became resentful because what I thought was cute in my 20s did not feel like a provider in my 30s. And so and also at that time, I wasn't able to communicate effectively. So I made a lot of demasculating and demeaning comments about the income disparities in our relationship because I felt like I'm growing, but you're not growing, and that's not fair. And so I did not handle it well for, I would say, probably 10 years. Yeah, I did not handle it well. And we found ourselves constantly married, but roommates more than anything, because I felt like you're not meeting me halfway. I can tell you a comment that I made to him once is that we've been together for 12 years and you're in the same place you were when I met you.
Financially.
And, now I'm aghast that I would even say that, but the reality is I did say it. And at the time I meant it. And I thought that those things would be motivating, that they would drive you to do more. But it didn't help the situation. So then you fast forward to where we are today, and what transitioned is I lost my job in 2018. And it was a significant blow because I was the provider for the household. And we had 3 kids at that time, a very, very hefty mortgage payment, car payments, daycare, all the 9, all of that. And I was panicked when I lost my job. I wanted to, we had a rental property. I wanted to sell the rental property because at the time, the rental property was vacant.
So we were paying 2
mortgages. And so that can't be done without my income. And I really did go into panic mode. And he sat next to me on a couch very similar to this one and said, I just need you to do one thing. Don't make any moves. Don't sell anything. Don't cash anything in. Just be still. And I think for the first time in our relationship, I felt like he was taking the lead. And it was a very safe space for me. I was out of my comfort zone, and I listened, which I don't, at that time, I didn't do a lot of, but I listened. And so we didn't sell anything. We didn't cash anything in. And what was supposed to be a 1-year just take a break actually turned into 3 years. And during that time, all that I had saved, everything that I had been building since I was 18 years old, is what truly sustained us through that time. But what it did, or what I saw from my husband, is it gave him wings, because he was the one going to work. I was at home. And regardless of what we may be pulling from 401ks or anywhere else, and I don't want to speak for you, but what I saw is that he felt like the provider, and he blossomed in that time period, that I was at home and he was going to work, that traditional family. And it was in that moment, or in that time period, that I realized what I had done, some consciously, some subconsciously or unconsciously, in all the years that I was not so kind with my words. And I loved the man that was in front of me. I think, honestly, we share this story often, that it is one of the things that saved our relationship, because I was dependent on him. His income mattered in that season. And I did get to just take a break. And I was even nervous to go back to work, because I was so overjoyed about the transition that had happened in our marriage, that I didn't want to ruin it by going back to work and then bringing in that amount of money and it changing our dynamic. And so today, I mean, we just recently had a conversation about this a couple weeks ago because he was going through some training to change his career path. And I needed that. I still need it. I want for him to be the provider of our household. But I believe that the way we communicate about money now and about our goals and about the long-term plan is just different. And it's loving conversations versus demeaning conversations.
It's more of a unit.
Yeah, it's a
more
unit.
of a unit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
let me bring Myron in terms of, because Leesa said a lot. That was a whole transition, right? A whole phase of y'all season that y'all went through. But how did you feel knowing that she was making the bulk of the income, right? And did it make you feel any kind of way towards her or the relationship?
That's a great question. I never felt that. And the reason why I say that is because what attracted me to her when we first started dating was we were about the same age, and she was a single mother at the time, and she had her life together at 25, 26 years old. And I'm 25, 26 looking at my life like, I don't even have a kid and I don't even have my life together like that. So that was something that really attracted me to her. And then to see her relationship with her son gave me the dynamic to be able to see how she was as a mother. And I loved it. I've started envisioning myself as being with her for the rest of our lives. And so when we dated, I never really knew how much her income was. I knew it was more than mine, but it never deterred me from wanting to be with her. It wasn't she's making this, so let me cling on to. It was never that for me. It was just something that you guys mentioned where men are physical. So that's what attracted me to her in the beginning. And then when I got to know her more and more, I fell in love with her heart.
Yeah.
And when I fell in love with her heart, to me, nothing else mattered. And that's what it was for me.
And he's never wavered from that. All my craziness, all my drama, he's never wavered from that true unconditional love, ever. And it's carried us through more than anything else in our relationship.
Was it an inspiration for you though to see your wife go out and make both?
Great question. I wish I could say yes.
Okay.
But the answer is no.
No.
And the reason why it was no is because I felt like we were on two different paths. She was in the corporate world. I was getting into the personal training, entrepreneurial type of space. And so, in my opinion, had I been a part of the corporate world, I think it would have been inspiring for me. But I felt like our paths were different. And so it wasn't as inspiring as it should have been, if I'm honest.
Yeah. How long have you guys been married?
We just celebrated our 17th wedding anniversary on July 21st, but we've been together for 19 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did any of the financial disparities ever cause any friction, like to where you like, okay, I'm tired of being a breadwinner. I'm done with all of this. Like, did it cause any problems?
It still does.
Yeah.
Does it?
No, yeah, it does. But we have a better, since we're growing together, and spiritually as well, we're growing together spiritually as well. We have better conversations. It's not bashing one another or like she was saying, like the negative or negative talk. We don't do that anymore. But all up to this point, I hadn't figured out what I wanted to do outside of personal training. It's all I knew. It's all I felt like I was. And here recently, I just recently got certified.
Well, congratulations.
I'm now a certified residential appraiser.
Okay.
Which I feel like will put me on the trajectory to be that provider that I know I can be and that she wants me to be. It took some time, but I feel like that is the piece that a lot of men miss when their spouse or significant other is earning more is, what are you doing for yourself to create a better life for your family, right? And for me, it's had I continued to go down the entrepreneurial path where the income is a roller coaster, it might have crashed and ended the marriage. But having that serious conversation, and COVID helped out a lot with this, was okay, now that training has stopped temporarily, what are you going to do? Fortunately for me, I was blessed enough to have the opportunity to obtain a college degree. So I was able to fall back on that. And then we started kind of going down different paths as to what I can do personally outside of the entrepreneurial space to earn a better income, a more stable, a more providing type of income. And I started going down the certified appraiser path. And so now that we're at this point, I feel like the sky is about to really, take us to the
next level.
And I want to say it's not about the dollar amount. So it was never about who earned more. It was about potential, and it was about effort and growth. And so when I made the comment, as negative and demeaning as it was, but when I made the comment about you're in the same place, that's never been comfortable for me. So regardless of what I'm doing, I don't want to be in the same place this year as I was last year. And so that growth for me is what I was challenged with. You're complacent, and that's where I struggled. And, I don't want to say anything negative about any industry, but I never saw personal training as a long-term career path. And so he did. 100% he did. I never, and I couldn't. And so when you're in corporate America, as long as I have been and I started at such an early age, there's a growth plan, right? You don't want to stay in the same role. And so I may not have run my own business, but I've run multiple departments and organizations for other for companies. And so I could see that, hey, you want to grow your camps or grow your clientele, but you're doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And so there was frustration that came with that, because I'm watching you. And although I'm not an entrepreneur, I've been a leader from as long as I can remember. And I know that this path is not the best path. And so when he says that, we're an appraiser, we started having conversations about that before 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until COVID changed the landscape of his career.
If I'm honest, I got scared.
Yeah.
I got really scared because that income and level of effort that I was putting into that entrepreneurial world kind of crashed. Now, we did have the ability to go virtual and we did some things online, but it was not the same. It was not the same. So my scaredness propelled me to do what I should have started at least 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was good. It was good for me. It didn't matter what made it happen.
Yeah.
I just was happy that it happened. Because we're going to at some point want to retire. And, I think about, you doing burpees in your 20s and doing burpees in your 40s. This is a little different.
Very different. Very different.
And so, it's very charismatic, people person, all those things. So you have all the makings of taking those skills and parlaying them into something that is, 401k and building retirement funds. And we got 3 little ones. So that was kind of the goal. And now we're moving in that direction, and it feels good. But I just wanted to say that because I think oftentimes, even for him, the thought is that it's about the dollar amount, and it's not. It was never, ever about the dollar amount. It's about the motivation and the drive. That's the best word I can use. The drive to do something that will provide for your family. Because I get tired.
I watched this podcast with Steven that we watched, the Diary CEO, and he had some person on there that were talking, and that person said just what you said. He was talking to I think he was a marriage counselor or something like that, and he said for the people who are thinking about marriage, this, that, or another, he was like, make sure you marry somebody who is, if not equal, more, but at least equal, because at some point during your marriage, you're gonna want to take a break.
Yeah.
So you need to be making money. They need to be making money, so that you each can, because you're going to get to a point where you want to transition and you don't know what you want to do in life and this, that, and the other. And you're going to need somebody that's going to help give you that break.
Yeah.
And it's true, because you just said it, like, I might get tired.
Yeah.
I think she is tired because she has been working in the corporate world from her early 20s, and now we're in our 40s. And so, just as the loving husband, and seeing her always support me in every endeavor that I've ever had, I want to be able to do that for her as well. And even get to the point where it'd be like, and I don't even know if I told you this, is maybe if you don't want to work anymore, you don't have to. Because there were so many times where I did that to her, and she never had that option.
Yeah.
To say,
Yeah.
well, I can't do that, right? And so now I'm at a place where I want to be able to say that to her, to where if she wants to try any entrepreneurial thing or just take a sabbatical from working corporate, whatever, I want to be able to do that.
Wow.
And
So,
somebody in
That was so big what you just said.
yeah,
Mhm.
that was dope, man. And it's crazy because our stores are very, very pure. Man, it seems like every couple we have, that goes to show you that we all go through the
same stuff. Same stuff.
same stuff. Obviously, us being in the same space with the training, institute that we were with, and we went through the same thing, man. It was tough, right? Building camps, and we went through that was probably one of the hardest times financially of our married life. One of those, right? When trying to build up that training, business, it was tough, man. And we went through hard financial times, and she stayed solid. She stayed strong. But I promise you, a lot of what Leesa is saying today, she's saying the same thing at home, right? And I'm in the same space with you, same exact. Promise you. But it kind of speaks volumes to, once again, many couples are going through the same situation. But how do you deal with it? How do you overcome it? Because some people are not.
Yeah.
Some people are crashing and burning.
Just to kind of go back to what she was saying, my love for her has never wavered. Through any storm, trials, tribulations, I've loved her now as much as I loved her when we first met. And I feel for her is the same. She never gave up on me as a spouse. Like, I see you, I see what you're trying to do, go try it. If it failed, okay, let's do something else. So she never gave up on me or said, I just can't do this anymore.
Well, let's be honest.
Okay.
No, I said that a lot.
Okay, well, I never
Okay, you never agreed. Okay.
She did say that a lot.
Yeah.
Which part did she say?
I'm done.
Oh, I'm done. Okay.
Relationship.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of just where I was in my own career.
Yeah.
And that's as we were getting older, she's ascending increasing every year, and I'm staying the same.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But so I guess what I'm trying to understand when you're saying I stayed the same, like what is it that needed to motivate? Like why were you not motivated?
I think that a lot of it has to do with my childhood,
Okay.
with my parents, because they weren't the type of people who were trying to ascend every year. It was, okay, we're able to pay our bills. We're able to have a vehicle. We're able to have a roof over our head. We're able to have food on the table, the essentials of life that everybody needs. But once they had that, that was enough. And that's how I grew up. And so being in a relationship is how I felt. We have food, we have a roof over our head, we have a vehicle, we have clothes, we're good. And that's why that speaks to, in the beginning when she was saying in her 20s where she was spending money and going shopping, I didn't care because the essentials were there already. And so it didn't matter to me. It matters now just because our relationship is different. Our household is different. We have different responsibilities, but that was the case.
One thing I will say to any young couple thinking about marriage, you hear this often, but I've been in the financial business for well over 20 years. And when you hear people say, you need to live on one income, you need to live on one income, you really need to set up your finances so that you are focused on one income. The other income is savings, it's legacy, it's wealth building, it's all the things. But in my 20s, when I thought it was cute to go shop and buy all those things, is when I really should have been laying the foundation that we're going to live on one income. Because had I done that, none of this would have ever been an issue. We would have never had the resentment and anger and all those things because our focus would have been on one to begin with. Mm-hmm. And so that's some advice that I will say I think is really important. And we miss the boat on that often because we don't talk about money.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not taught money in school. You know, you learn geography and, you know, all the things, but we don't learn life skills. And that's a life skill that many other cultures have that we don't. And we should really focus on building relationships where your finance is part of the initial conversation before you say I do.
And we do that with our kids now.
Yes.
We our 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, 16-year-old, we tell them how much things cost. We tell them how much our mortgage payment is.
Yeah.
We tell them how much a car note is. And we feel like that's important for them to know because I didn't know growing up how much our parents' mortgage payment was or how much money they made. It was almost like it was just a secret. It doesn't have to be a secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. You know, the financial piece is always a major piece in many, I ain't gonna say always, but in many couples, spending hours for sure. But kudos to you for not, you know, Leesa, not, even though you gave him the business, for sure. You gave him some, probably gave him some ultimatums and all that stuff. But at the same time, as Myron mentioned, you still was in some areas, you was very still supportive, right? In many things.
So I'll say this, I can't walk away from this kind of love. The kind of love that I used to tell him, I wish I loved you as much as you love me.
Yeah, she used to say that.
But you can't, it's hard, in my opinion, to walk away from that.
You said, you told him what?
I wish I loved you as much as you love me.
Wow.
And we're married.
Now I think we're good.
Oh, we're good now.
We're good now.
Yeah.
But for many years, his love far outweighed.
I didn't understand.
I wasn't raised that way. So his household, the essentials were enough and everything else was filled with love. And my household was very different. Everything was about what you can do and how you do it and how well you do it. We started doing interviews with my parents when I was probably 12 or 13. Yeah. We were sitting at the dinner.
Until I was 16 years old, my first job.
Yeah. We did interview questions all the time. We talked about goals. We talked about what your path. You know, my mom was real big. My little sister she's an attorney, and
Yeah.
when she got ready to go to, she always knew she wanted to be an attorney. And when she got ready to go to school, my mom's, you could major in criminal justice, but we need a business minor just in case, because you can't do nothing with a criminal justice degree but be a cop or a lawyer. And just in case that don't pan out, you need to have something else. That our whole life was based on that. And so when I said this to you guys before we actually started taping, but his parents lived with us for a year, and it really shed a lot of light in our relationship on what his background was, right? Like, I got to see his parents every day for a year and understand how he was raised. It was just a bunch of love. And I don't know the balance. Is it all love and no life skills, really? I don't know what the healthy balance is, but he's not healing from any baggage, I'll say that. And I have been healing from family baggage for many years. So I think, I know this doesn't have anything to do with finances, but I think it does in a way, because it attests to how we've been able to sustain even through all the years of turmoil and resentment and frustration, and now be on the other side of that. I was telling you, Tan, I would be so sad to miss out on where we are today, right? Had I quit at year 10 or year 12, I wouldn't have been able to see the joy that there is at year 17. And that's a blessing and nothing but a testimony of God.
So how far did it go in terms of I'm done, right? Due to the finances, how far did it push you guys to possibly splitting or divorcing, or what?
Were you living in separate bedrooms?
Yeah. How far? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. How far did you go?
We never did that, but we never like moved it. I will say I did put a deposit on an apartment one time.
Wow.
And I put all this stuff in the garage because I don't want you to be stranded. I wanted to help you.
Gonna help him.
But like I said, he would never leave. When he said I do, and he told me this, he said, I made a commitment to God, not to you. Yeah. And he meant it.
And because I understood as a young child, the love that God had for us, for all of his people who believe in him. And that love just impacted me so much. I felt like when I find somebody to love like that, I'm going to love them like that for the rest of my life. And I meant that. And I'm still sticking to it to this day.
Yeah. And I said, we've had this conversation many times, that I at one point was so arrogant to believe that I was his blessing. And
Were you helping somebody?
It came to me that there is no person on earth that could have loved me through all of that trauma other than this man that God created that is full of nothing but love. And so he was able to love me through all the hurt and pain that I didn't even know was there until probably 5 years ago. Wow. And there is no other man that could withstand the mess and drama and anger that I put him through.
Would you say that Myron has been a healing for you?
Yes.
He's healed you in some type way?
Oh, absolutely. Every day. Because I never felt love like that. So I didn't even know how to receive it. And so now to be where we are today, it is nothing but the grace of God. And I said this, and I want to make sure I get it in the podcast, that we have a life group that we're a part of. And one of the messages that came out of that group is that oftentimes you don't want to be transparent and share your story. But if we don't share our story, then there's no room for God to get the glory. And so as hard and challenging as it may be to be transparent and honest about what you're experiencing, know that it only highlights the glory of God and what he can bring any and everyone out of. And there is no greater testimony than us. Because if you knew us in 2007, We've come a mighty long way. A mighty long way.
Man, that's so good. Listen, Tanya and I, we totally believe, which is another part of why we doing this podcast, which we kind of talked a little bit before the cameras came on, is when you guys asked us why we're doing the podcast. And it's truly because we want couples to come on here and tell this story who's not scared to be vulnerable enough to tell the ugly side,
Yeah.
the ugly part,
Yeah.
right? Because we're living in a world where it's social media paints everything and it looks, you can be whoever you want to be on social media. But man, bunk that, right? Forget that. We need people to start being real and transparent about what's going on in their marriage and who's went through something. Because as you said, that testimony is for someone else.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how God get the glory.
Yes.
Man, tell your story of what you went through and how you've overcome it. So God can get that glory in that situation. So thank you guys, man, for being transparent and open about this stuff, because as Tanya always say, I feel that it's helping somebody for sure. So tell me this, man. Leesa, when you were when you were mentioning that's how you were talking to Myron about certain things and how now you regret, how you kind of handled that situation. That was a stem from your upbringing, correct? Maybe how you were raised and how the money should be this and how you should do this. And then Myron, your situation was how you were raised, right? So now you got two different, man, I was raised this way. And that's how Tanya and I, we were the same thing. And when you raised two opposite ways and now you come together trying to make this thing work, it can be hard, man. Yes. It can be tough, real tough. So when she was going through that with you, Myron, how were you feeling when she would come at you and tell you these things or whatever that might have been? You know what I'm saying? Did it make you feel less of a man? Did it make you, feel like, how did it make you feel?
That's a good question. I think when, I was receiving stuff like that, I wasn't as connected to God as I should have been. And so even though I had a relationship with God, I didn't necessarily feel like I was leading my household God first. Because had I did that, I would have known that the enemy is trying to attack my household through words or actions or whatever the case may be. But interestingly enough, the words never made me feel less than a man.
Really?
They hurt, but I never felt like, oh man, she said that. I think that I might not be a man, but I never felt that way in my heart because I just knew who I was as a person. And I always felt like I was a man. I just didn't know how to handle all of this aggression coming from a female. I'd never had to deal with that in my entire life. Nobody in my family was this way. Previous girlfriends, relationships wasn't this way. And so I didn't know how to handle it. So how I handled it back then was silence. I didn't lash back out. I didn't call her outside of her name because she was, talking certain kind of way to me. Since I didn't know how to handle it, I just went silent. It's the only thing I knew to do. And that's honestly what got me through, because I felt like if I was vocal or, reverted back to when I used to play football, somebody could have got hurt and the marriage would have been over, and that's just reality. That's how I feel like what happens is men hold things in so much that it just bubbles up into a bad situation. And I never wanted that for my relationship. And so in order for me to navigate through how I was receiving it, my reaction was to be silent.
That's actually, so I don't know that I've ever heard this before.
Only on couples.
Only couples.
So I'll say this. I've toned myself, not just in our relationship, just completely in general. Like, you need to be careful with your words. And I am much more cognizant of that today. But I hearing what he just said, so he basically ignored me, which is why I believe it took 10 years to get from, I want you to go to appraisal school. I think appraisal would be really good for you, to, it had to be something outside of me, COVID, that got him to make that transition, because he had silenced my words because they were hurtful. So it didn't matter how I said it or what I presented, you weren't receiving it.
Right.
So it wasn't hurting you, but it wasn't helping you
helping.
either. And so in my mind, I'm like, we keep having the same conversation over and over and over again. But now listening to him, that's why, because he wasn't hearing me, because it was hurtful in how I was delivering it.
So now let me, just for clarification, was it truly a matter of you not hearing her, or you heard her? It's just that you just didn't respond.
I heard her.
Because there's a difference.
I heard her.
Right.
I just chose not to respond.
Right.
I heard her. It wasn't
ignoring her or wasn't like that. You just didn't want to respond.
Well, I was ignoring because the words weren't coming to me in a place of love,
right,
or or motivation. It was like pointing the finger, like you need, like that. And so, just honestly, I reverted back to one of my old football coaches who used to yell and spit in your face, and that's
I didn't spit.
no. But I'm just saying, my reaction to, I can't hit this grown adult man. So the only option I had at that moment was to be silent and tune them out. And when she started doing that, that's what came up in my head was, I feel like I'm being attacked, but I can't really react the way that I want to react. And so I'm resort to silence.
But did you feel like what she was saying was true, though? Even though even though you ignored them.
It took me a while to realize what she's saying was true. And when I started realizing what she was saying was true, it was in my own reflections, because when she was telling me, it was coming from a place of anger and loud talk and yelling. So I couldn't receive it that way. Yeah. So in my own personal reflections of what she was saying, it's like, you know what? She is absolutely right with everything that she's saying. I just couldn't receive it based off of how she was giving the delivery, giving it to me.
Yeah. So it's like you're dealing with one situation, the financial piece, that taps into a whole nother piece, which is communication. Right. So now you're dealing with two different things at one time.
But three, because disconnection.
Yeah. Three things. So all these things at one time that you're kind of wrestling with
for years, for a decade,
right?
Many years, and I think it wasn't stemmed from me having the revelation that my approach was not going to move the needle, and not just in our relationship, in many aspects of my life. My thing is, it might be hard for you to hear, but it's the truth. That's how I felt. And now I feel like, no, I need to understand you so that I can understand how to deliver it so you can receive it. Because it doesn't matter whether it's true or not if you can't receive it. And so my goal now, not just with my husband, but in all interactions, is that I'm listening more than I'm talking. And my listening is to learn who you are so that I know how to communicate with you in a way that you can receive it.
Yeah. That comes from time and maturity, right? Because we weren't thinking like this in our 20s and 30s. We just weren't.
Even what she just said, though, the other person have to be willing to receive it. Right. It doesn't matter how it comes across. Right. She can be coming across in a really nice way, very nice tone. But if you're not ready to receive it either way, you're not going to receive it.
That's true.
That's true. Very true.
So there has to be some reflection. There has to be some development on everybody's part, So my question is, how did you guys grow from each of you? How did you grow and develop? Did you therapy, counseling? Did you read books? How did y'all come together to actually begin to grow? And you, Myra, become more aware of yourself, and Leesa, you become more aware too, because you had to kind of like not dumb down, but you had to step back a little bit.
Yes.
So you had to do some reflection. What does that look like? Because I'm asking because we're talking about all of this and we're saying what happened when it came to the finances, but I think we need to give people they already have hope because you're still married. We're still married. But how do we solve this? You know what I mean?
It's a good question. I think that it starts with your own personal spiritual growth.
Yep.
And we started growing individually in our own spirituality. And now we're combining it to be spiritual together for our kids and for us as a couple. Like we're interested in the couple's ministry now.
Okay.
She's a part of her own ministry. I'm a part of my own ministry as individuals. Now we're looking to do a couple's ministry. And I think that it starts there, where if you're not in tune with your own personal spirituality, it's hard to be connected with somebody who is at least attempting to, grow their spirituality or grow personally.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think the spiritual side is key, and understanding what God says about marriage and what his word says about marriage. There's a misconception that the goal of marriage is to be happy, and it's not. It's not his job to make me happy. It's not my job to make him happy. And I think when you let that go, that's how the divorce word became a obsolete thing in our household.
Right.
Because I'm not always going to be happy with him, and he's not always going to be happy with me. But our goal is to create a union that reflects God's love for the church.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not always happy.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that we are not connected as a unit that is moving forward towards bettering the body of Christ. And that is the change that's happened. And so the money doesn't matter when your focus is about God and raising healthy kids and moving in those, we are still human. We are not without sin. And so there's still frustration. I mean, we just had an argument about this last week. So it still comes up. How we deal with it is different.
It's different.
And what our goals are different. And so I do want at some point to be able to say, I could take a break. If it gets too stressful or the environment is too emotionally draining on me, I can just step away. And I've not had that in our relationship. And so I do want us to get to that place where I'm a little more secure in the fact that I don't have to put up with it all, because I do feel like even today, if I were to walk away, what happens to our life? What happens to our mortgage and our, all of those things? So that goal is still there for me, but I am not vocal about it as much. I also think that you have to find things that you are passionate about and to grow in those things. So, and then separation of duties. It's real hard for me to be the breadwinner and then also be the domestic diva, right? And I'm not. So I like to cook. That's my thing. But shuffling kids around, that's his space. Doctor's appointments, I might make the appointment, but the driver is here. So there is a clear separation of duties where he picks up a lot of things so that I can focus on work and not be stressful in both places. Yeah. So I think those are
key.
really important things
Yeah,
in the relationship.
It was good.
Yeah.
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 Because, you know, you may have a couple that's dealing with that right now. Like, okay, I'm the breadwinner here. I can't do all. But here's something that you can do.
Yeah. The man has to recognize that, because if he doesn't, that's where the resentment comes in. Is now I'm at a place where I can just look at her and tell what kind of mood she's in. Is she stressed? Is she happy? Is she sad? And if I feel that she's stressed, what can I do to relieve some of that stress? Yeah. And that's what I've been focusing on.
And he's much more in tune with that.
Yeah.
I don't have to, like, one of my biggest challenges was I don't want to have to tell you what. Like, you can see that the dishes need to be washed. You can see that, you know, tomorrow's Wednesday, it's swim meet or it's swim day. Where's their swimsuits? Like, he's focused on those things now more so than before, which is a burden, a relief for me. And so it's that balance of just trying to find that sweet spot, and it moves. It's forever changing because we change. So we just keep plugging away.
Yeah.
Some days are really good and some days are really bad. And we just keep fighting for it.
It's true. Very true.
Man, I tell you, man, this is really good stuff, because I'm listening to growth.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listening to growth.
Yeah.
And that's why I love talking about it, because that's exactly what it is. And it's a change that God has brought upon our lives that is not meant to be kept just in our house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's amazing, man, that you guys both are now in a space that you're in now, from where you guys came from originally.
Yes.
Right? Because you guys said y'all did some research on this topic. I would love to tap into that really quick.
Yeah.
About the statistics of, like, how many people that go through this very same situation where the wife is making more money than the husband. But for some families that dynamic don't work, to the point of some couples calling it quits. So you had some statistics that you said that you were looking at.
So depending on which source you look at, it's 30 to 50% of opposite sex marriages today, the woman makes more money. And out of that, 50 to 60% end in divorce.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's huge. It's huge. And I think it's caused, well, by resentment. That was one of the top things, was resentment, and infidelity. Was another top cause of the relationship not working, and lack of spiritual community was the third on the list.
Wow.
And so I wasn't surprised about what caused the divorce. I was surprised about this percentage. I was very surprised that it was 50 to 60%. But I hope, if nothing else, starting the framework of your relationship prior to marriage, where you're having financial conversations. What are the goals of your relationship as it pertains to finances, and really focusing on the one income lifestyle, I think knocks a lot of this out. And of course, you got to keep God first.
Yeah,
so I think, you know, if I give anybody a takeaway, to me, that's the takeaway. If you're in this season of resentment and hurt, and I need a break, and he's not stepping up, you really have to look within first before talking about someone else, and what is it that you can do in the situation to make it better. And if you are not connected personally, a personal relationship, I'm not talking about just going to church, I'm talking about a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, that is the first step from my perspective in healing that space of resentment.
How about you, Myron? For a husband who's in that space of their wife is making more than them, maybe challenging them to step up a little bit in that area, what would you?
You mean as far as the men in those relationships?
Yeah. What would you recommend a man to kind of do in that space?
I would definitely agree with Lisa in regards to developing your personal relationship, but then you also have to, if you really care about your significant other, your spouse, you have to try to be in tune with them, being able to recognize when they're stressed and all of those different dynamics, because that lets your partner know that you care about them, number one, but that two, that you're wanting to change and or do more or do better. You don't feel like you're not just staying in the same place. And I think that she saw that in me. She saw that I wanted to grow. I wanted to improve, increase, and I had all the tools necessary. But again, with our communication back then, it wasn't what it is now. I wasn't being able to receive it that way. Whereas now, I'm definitely able to receive it, and a man has to be willing to receive it, has to be willing to receive it. And just my own personal background of being an athlete, having coaches, you have to receive positive and negative feedback. And so when I translate that into my relationship, able to receive positive and negative feedback, when it's not yelling or arguing or, resentful type of way. So as long as the man can understand how to receive, and it has to be in a good way, right? Like, she's not just telling you something just to say it. Like, if she's really pouring into you and trying to help improve not only your life, but y'all's life together, then you have to recognize that as a man and be willing to do something about it. And I felt like, me personally, that's what I did, or is still trying to do.
Well,
Yeah.
it's ever going. You just keep going. You just keep learning, keep growing. It's gonna
Always.
continue to change, and you got to just continue to roll with it.
That's right.
You to grow with it, right? So, any other questions, maybe, that you had, particular?
Lisa, you're gonna be taking that break pretty soon.
I think so too.
Because he's working on it, you know what I mean? So, and kudos to you for it, stepping out no matter how long it took. You guys hung in there. And I want to ask what you guys do for fun.
What do we do for fun?
Yeah.
So we have little ones, so they take up a lot of fun. We're
still intentional about dating each other.
That's what I was gonna say. Well, our date nights are very important.
We still go date nights.
Yeah, we get all dressed up.
It used to be once a week, but it kind of varies depending on what we got going on. Tried to date, go on a date once a week. Sometimes it might be once a month or every other week or whatever. But that's important to us. We like to hang out outside on our patio. And so that's what we call patio conversations, which it gives me and her opportunity to talk to each other away from the kids as adults, and just, talk about the day. She may, give me a rundown of what's going on at work or whatever. And it gives me the opportunity to just that connection.
Yeah.
After being together for 19 years, a lot of people lose that focus of, how did y'all get together in the first place? Well, you have to start dating in order to get to know that person. Well, 19 years in, we're still dating and still getting to know each other and still getting to learn each other. And it's that connection that I feel like we've never lost over the years of at least attempting to stay connected through that. So we go to restaurants. We went bowling a week or two ago. She just recently put a dating dice over on my side of the bathroom. So the dating dice has specific things that you can do.
I put it on his sink and went out of town. I forgot about that. I did.
And as soon as I saw it, I started laughing immediately because I knew exactly what this was. What this told me, and she didn't even say a word. She said, she set it on my counter and went out of town. But to me, when I saw that, is I know that you're not good at thinking of things to do and actually planning things to do. So, here's a dice, a 9-sided dice that has things that you can do today. And it's random things. It's, what's one of them?
So
Yeah, spa day was
Spa
fun.
day, dance with your partner in the living room, just simple things. And I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna roll the dice.
on that note, I'm gonna roll the dice. I love it.
I love it,
It
man.
was awesome.
And then also, just to finish up, she has found a way to be a part of my love for sports.
Oh yeah.
Because I am a diehard sports fanatic. And so last year, she joined a fantasy football team.
I did.
Oh,
I've
I
been,
enjoyed it. I was losing at first, and then I wanted to quit.
Right.
And he gave me a player. We did a trade, and he gave me a player, and I started winning. So I'm into it now. So
Yeah.
I used to tell people that our marriage goes on pause during spring training and doesn't resume
so
until
after the Super Bowl.
because Monday, Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, all football.
Yeah.
That's him. But now I get into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know some of the players.
And I honestly felt like we connected a lot.
We did. We had
Yeah, it was starting to become a little friendly competitiveness. So, I thought that was good. So I say all that to say, find out what your spouse loves to do and figure out a way how you can connect with that.
Yeah.
I feel that's very important. Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, this was absolutely amazing, man. This is, I think Myron and I was talking a little bit before we started recording. This is a topic you don't really see a lot of people talking about, right? It's kind of out there a little bit, with women being independent, making their own money, making moves, right? But just to sit down and have that actual conversation and really break that down and say, what does that dynamic look like within a marriage, right? And there's some challenges can be there.
Yeah.
That can actually get to a point to where it could end up in divorce. But thank God that you guys overcame the situation, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you overcame that thing, man, and continue to grow to new levels, man, in your marriage. And again, it just maybe was a testimony for you guys to come on Couples Connect and share with the world.
Yeah.
And maybe help somebody. So thank you guys for being vulnerable and being open up about this very touchy topic, man.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us. It was
we
a wonderful
appreciate it.
experience.
And we even had a little conversation the night before of how, it made me a little nervous to speak about this because it doesn't necessarily paint a man in a positive light to be able to share and express these type of things. But I just want to come on here and be open and honest with you guys, and hopefully be able to help, other men who may be going through the same thing or have gone through it, because it's important. It's important for us to share our experiences in order to help others. So,
well, I would like to say that I believe that it shared a positive light because so many things that you could have said back to your wife and you didn't. You held your tongue. You didn't disrespect her. So it is a positive, and you're doing the right thing for your family.
Yeah.
So that's positive. That's encouraging for other couples. And I really commend you guys on that because I've learned a lot. Some things that you've said, I'm going to grow for. And that's what this is all about. Like, we hear your stories, but we also grow from your stories.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So this was pretty awesome. And I had a lot more questions. Like we always say that we can just keep going on and on, like 2-3 hours, because I really wanted to elaborate a little bit more on why, I asked Kevin and I were talking and I was trying to figure out why is it that women are making so much, not that women are how did I say that? Men are still making more money
Than women.
but the gap, so just to get into all of that. But thank you guys. I don't know if we're done, but
Well, we want people to tune in next time. So
yeah,
part two.
we still got the recordings to do. So
I'm gonna send that form to y'all. Y'all can have another topic.
back.
Yeah, man.
This
We'd
was
love
fun.
to
This
come
was
back.
really fun. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you guys, man, once again for coming, Team Coleman, to bless us with your story. Hey, man, this is Couples Connect, and we're doing it again, man. Hey, we got another amazing couple that's in the building, sharing their story with you guys. So make sure, man, that you tune in, subscribe to the channel, like it, share it, and all that good stuff, and let people hear their story, man. If you're in that same similar situation, man, you can make it, right?
Yeah.
Make it work. You can
Don't
absolutely-
quit. Don't quit.
right?
Don't quit. Don't
So keep fighting, man. And this is Kev, man. This is my boo.
Tanya.
Man, this is Couples Connect podcast, baby. And we out this thing, man. Peace.